I have been dealing with these physical limitations for long before I contracted COVID, but once I contracted COVID, all of these really increased and were getting worse and worse. So, on my worst day with long COVID, I would wake up in a brain fog that would continue throughout the whole day. This brain fog was so intense that I couldn't really process complex strings of thought. I would have a lot of trouble focusing and just staying engaged in conversations. My body would feel so fatigued that I would sleep for upwards of 12 hours and still be exhausted. My temperature would be 99 or 100. My legs would ache, my heart rate would be very low, and it would be very hard to elevate it in any way. Um, I would have a mild headache, loss of appetite, um, feeling very weak, unable to exercise or really do anything with my heart rate elevated. Walking to class was a task on those days if I did make it to class. Dizzy spells, severe sensitivity to light and sound. I would have to close the blinds in my room. Um, and I would be very moody and easy to anger. And I also wouldn't really be able to be outside a lot because my body couldn't regulate its temperature. So if it was 80 degrees or above, I couldn't be outside comfortably for more than 5 minutes because my body wouldn't sweat. Um, and I couldn't really be in direct sunlight comfortably for more than a minute on those days also. I've grown up as a competitive swimmer my whole life, and I swam in college, and um, it was very, very hard. I was not able to consistently practice the way everyone else could because my body would shut down if I pushed it too hard. I would instantly feel faint and nauseous and very weak, and if that did happen, if I pushed my body too far, it would take days or even weeks to recover before I could get back to where I even was before then. My list of foods I could eat slowly got smaller and smaller. Seemed like my body was rejecting more and more food. Um, in terms of the symptoms that I would get after I would eat, I would feel very faint and weak and very foggy after I ate certain foods. Travel was very difficult physically. Airplanes were very scary. I came very near to passing out each airplane I took, and it got worse and worse. And my ears would hurt and my legs would swell. So traveling was really scary and getting very hard towards the end. I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 12 years old, and I've been on antidepressants since I was 12 years old. This anxiety got worse and worse as all of my other symptoms got worse. And so my anxiety reached a height during long COVID, even on my medication. I was always monitoring my symptoms, always figuring out how to manage them. And with this, they just got worse and worse. Um, and doctors even told me that this is something you were born with and this is something you will die with. And your life will just be symptom management. And so that's what my whole life became about. I had a feeling that I just was different from everyone else and that I would probably die before everyone else. That seems really dark, but I just imagined that I would never have the life that these normal people are having, and my body just can't handle the task of life. And I felt very misunderstood and alone. No one could possibly ever understand what is going on with me. These things are so specific and weird that no one's going to believe me. Doctors don't really believe me. They don't really know what's going on. And at this point, I just thought, well, my life is in my own hands and I'm the only one who's ever going to have my back. So, yeah, I have friends, I have family, but at the end of the day, all I have is myself. I have been going to various doctors ever since I was a kid trying to figure out what was wrong before I was diagnosed with POTS and dysautonomia. Um, from the age of 12, I saw hormone specialists. endocrine doctors, holistic doctors. I eventually went to OBGYNs, cardiovascular doctors. I entered therapy from a very young age and started seeing psychiatrists at a very young age. And I finally found a pot specialist out of state. All of these doctor's visits um, cost my parents a lot of money, and I didn't really have a concept for how much money was being spent because I was just a kid or an adolescent. But by the end of it, I'm sure that my parents spent, I know they spent thousands and thousands of dollars. So I discovered DNRS in March of 2022. It was my last semester of college. I found this program the night before I was leaving to go on a spring break trip to the beach with my best friends. Um, and I watched the videos while I was there, and boy, am I glad I did because that was the thing that I needed most in the whole entire world. I really trusted the process kind of naturally. I didn't even have to force it. It just kind of felt like I was onto something. Immediately, I saw my symptoms lessen. Me and my best friend had planned a trip to Europe after we graduated college. And before I found DNRS, I was telling my friend, just be prepared to cancel this trip. I can't make any promises at this point. I'm getting worse. And at this moment in time, I don't think I'll be able to go. Um, but we'll hold off just in case a miracle happens. And so I found my miracle, and with a lot of hard work, I was able to go to Europe with her, and I was able to ride on an airplane for 8 hours with no problem. I was able to sleep on the airplane, which I never thought I'd be able to do. Um, and I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed this was the first time I've ever enjoyed an airplane ride, and I actually wanted to be there. And so I went to London with my best friend for a week, and then we took another plane and met our moms in Paris. And it was the best week of my whole life. I was outside all the time, and something that was absolutely just unimaginable for me was that I was eating whatever I wanted. I was still not 100% where I am now, where I can eat absolutely anything I want, but I was able to eat croissants and ice cream, which was incredible because how can you go to Paris and not eat those things? And so just being able to enjoy a beautiful place like a regular person with the people that I love was the most rewarding experience, and I'll never forget it. I enjoyed my first summer in Alabama. It wasn't my first summer there, but it was the first summer I'd ever enjoyed. I played basketball outside when it was 95 degrees. I was sweating buckets. If I hadn't had those couple months of DNRS under my belt, I probably wouldn't have been able to move to grad school with such ease. Um, in August of 2022, or July actually, I moved to Charlottesville, Virginia to go to graduate school. And this was the first time I've ever permanently moved away from home, which is a very big deal. I moved up here all by myself and met my roommates who were strangers to me at the time. And I started a really difficult program. And I can say that it's been difficult at times, but because of the new tools that I've gained, it's been so much easier than it would have been before. I don't think I could have done it before. And as far as my emotional symptoms, I'm a completely different person. I'm so calm and peaceful and stable. And if I'm in a group of people or with my family, I'm now the easygoing one, which is just the most amazing thing. I never thought I'd be able to be that person because before I was that high maintenance person who was just really hard to be around. And so now I get to be a really wonderful person for everyone else to be around. I went into this program just hoping to get back to where I was before I had COVID. And at that point, I was just kind of managing. Life wasn't amazing, but it wasn't as bad as it was with long COVID. And so that's kind of the mindset I had going into this program. And I can say now that I was 100% surprised at how far past that expectation this program has taken me. I'm like living in a way that I've never lived in my whole entire life. I'm a better friend, I'm a better partner, I'm a better daughter, I'm a better sister. Um, in just tiny little ways because I've gained these new perspectives that I just have never had access to before. I'm empathetic still, but it's a lot easier to set boundaries and maintain my peace. And all of the sensitivities that I had that affected me and the people I was around are gone. And so I'm able to say yes to things and be a person that I didn't really know I was able to be. It's so freeing feeling like your health and your sense of well-being are in your control now, and, that's something that I will never take for granted, and something that is really special about DNRS is that it's mostly self-directed and in your power, and that's a really beautiful thing. Now that I know that my health and well-being are in my control, I have the freedom to do and experience anything I want. And if something does trigger me, I know exactly how to handle it. I would say to anyone who's suffering from long COVID or any type of limbic system impairment, just give it a chance. And if you were anything like me, you have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. I hope this program spreads to everyone everywhere because it is a new paradigm and it is so, so incredible. And I never thought I'd be doing this video, so, to anybody who's watching it, you should definitely do it, and I'll watch your video when you make one.